Welcome in everybody to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB Zack Brown. We're going to cover all the action that happened in St. Louis at the World Wide Technology Raceway at Gateway with the trucks and the cup cars. Also, the Portland Road Course with Xfinity, and going over some dirt racing action and sprint cars with the All-Stars, High Limit Series, and the World of Outlaws. But first, as always, this episode is brought to you by W Energy. Getting into the hot summer months, go ahead and order you some this W Energy, W.GG. Use promo code ZBHP. You get 10% off your order, and you get stuff to keep you hydrated throughout these hot summer months. It's already getting hot down here in the south, so go ahead and get you some stuff ordered. Get ready, be prepared before they sell out. Stuff's going quick. It's really good stuff. Get some of the hydration stuff like I have right here. The Monkey Madness. It's strawberry and banana. And go ahead and get you some of the energy supplements too, because it's going to be some long days as well. W.GG, promo code ZBHP. Let's get on with it. Well, let's dive right in to what everybody has on their mind. Is NASCAR at Gateway, or World Wide Technology Raceway, whatever you want to call them. Interesting race. Supposed to be one of the shortest races all year. Ended up being probably the longest race we're going to have all year. Between the lightning delays and how many cautions there were throughout the race, especially towards the end. It was pretty crazy. And I knew I had a bad feeling when they did pre-race interviews and NASCAR was like, yeah, hopefully we can see some spots on the radar later on. Hopefully we don't have to catch them. You know what that means. They're going to end up definitely getting spots on the radar. Never rained, I don't think. Just a lot of lightning and internet delays and everything that happened. And NASCAR, you know there's stuff in the area. Why not move that race up to like 1 o'clock Eastern time or something? Move it up 2 hours. You probably would have got the whole dang race in. Instead, you elongate everything. And luckily, the crowd stuck around and they watched the whole race. But what if it didn't play out that way? What if it started raining and it was a washout? You got to think about these things. Everybody was already there. If you move it up a couple hours, it's not a big deal. And yeah, there's probably a penalty you have to pay on TV time or something, but come on now. Just go ahead and do it. Bite the bullet and get the fans what they need so they're not waiting around a quarter of their whole day at the racetrack in the stands themselves. So kind of poor management there, but not really surprising. Happens quite often with them. But going into the race, Kyle Busch had a tremendous qualifying lap, and he was obviously one of the favorites to win. And Ryan Blaney was starting in the front row, coming off a big win at the Coke 600. So definitely was between those two for a while. And I still think Kyle was the fastest all day. Well, a lot of brake rotor problems were in this race. Those cars go from, almost 160 to almost 170 down the straightaway, and they go to close to 100 miles an hour around the corners. How narrow those are and how flat that track is, and they downshift up to 2 times each corner for the entire race. That's going to start wearing on your car and the rotors, and you saw that. The rotors literally exploded. Carson Hocevar, who was making his Cup debut, he was one of the unfortunate drivers that ended up having a blowed rotor. And luckily he was okay, but he was having a really good run. He was in the top 20, and he was actually doing better than Corey LaJoie, which that's Corey LaJoie's normal ride as he was filling in for Chase Elliott. Overall, in the beginning, the Hendrick cars really weren't fast. William Byron was, but other than that, there was no speed out of Hendrick. And Kyle Larson, he was falling way to the back, and he was going to have some luck on his side to make any type of moves. They were going to have to do some gambling. They're going to have to do some strategy, and which they were able to. They start creeping their way towards the top 10, work on the car. They make wholesale changes like you expect Cliff to do every time. And thank you, Mike Joy, for obviously tuning in my show and using the comparison of he and Cliff Daniels to Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson. It's clearly you're watching my show, so appreciate that. And it's just how much they continue to work on the car throughout the race is still so impressive. And Larson actually at one point was able to get the lead towards the end as he was able to use 2 tires strategy, which I don't think was a bad idea. Tires weren't wearing out too much. I think the rotors were the main concern from everybody. And Larson led for a little while, but in the end, Kyle Busch ended up taking the lead from him, and cautions started breeding cautions and more cautions. It was kind of getting annoying. I about fell asleep as late as it was getting. And finally, the last restart, Larson wasn't able to get the best restart, and Kyle Busch drove away. Again, he was the fastest car. Kyle Busch gets his 3rd win of the year with Richard Childress already, and Kyle Larson fell to 4th, and that was a very solid top 5. They didn't even have a top 15 car, let alone a top 5 car. So very impressive turnaround for them that day. And Michael McDowell has been impressing me this whole season. I don't even know how many top 10s he's had, but every time I look at that graphic, Michael McDowell's up in the top 10. So I wish more people would talk about that, because that is definitely a small team and how much they're impressing with their speed and their consistency throughout the year. But I told you guys, Kyle Busch was going to have a good year. Everybody's like, oh, his career's over. He's going to Richard Childress. No, he's a champion of the sport. He's one of the best drivers of all time. You really think he wasn't going to be able to figure it out? Yeah. He got it figured out. And you're getting to the hot summer months, you're going to see Kyle Busch start racking off some wins now. There are a bunch of tracks where they're going to be hot and slick, and that's where Kyle Busch is going to be very successful at. And just that winning mentality he's brought to Richard Childress again is it speaks volumes. You can see it, and they're all the results, and how well the teams are running, and how high standards they have now because they brought him into the garage. So I'm telling you, he's a championship favorite, and I said at the beginning of the year he's going to be in the Final Four. I'm starting to even creep he's the championship favorite at this point. Shoot, the crowd's cheering him on too. Again, it's crazy. It's crazy times right now in NASCAR. But good for Kyle and good for Childress, and glad to see them having their success once again on the track. Moving over to the truck race that happened the day before the Cup Series. Lots of crashes. Lots of crashes. That's that seems to be the kind of what's been going down this year with the Truck Series. And of course, Dad's both picks in NASCAR get right. He gets Kyle Busch on Sunday, and Grant Enfinger, who was running solid all day, escapes with a win. Where my guy finished, yeah, Majeski wrecked. Just come on now. I apologize for everybody that I keep jinxing, because my picks have not been solid at all. I used thorough analysis and great predictions, in my opinion, of drivers that can win, and they clearly have not, I hope, worked out. But Grant Enfinger wins over Christian Eckes, and I believe that was in NASCAR overtime, which took forever as well. I about dozed off in both those races, so I think Gateway's fine. I'd like to see a doubleheader between trucks and cups on Saturday night. Trucks first, and then a Saturday night race with the cup cars. And you saw that Marcus Smith allowed fans with tickets to the cup race stay for the Xfinity race on Monday, on Memorial Day at Charlotte. Why not just do the same thing? I've been saying it. Just go ahead and do it. 2-for-1 special. You already got a packed house. Don't need to make it insanely expensive. And that way, if there's rain, you still got Sunday as a buffer. Everybody's got to go back to work on Monday, though. So I think that would be best. And then you could end up selling more tickets because people were definitely would opt in to travel that far if they need to, because again, there's that extra day buffer if they need to do that. So if you're listening to this NASCAR, look at that stuff like Gateway, those races, try it out. It doesn't hurt. You don't have to do it for every race, but try it out. I think that track is got a lot of grip when it cools off like that, and made for decent passing towards the end. And it would probably reduce the amount of brake rotor failures as much as they had, as hot as it was during the day, and then it cooled off all of a sudden towards the second part of the race, and the brake rotors can't really handle that in these cars, so might fix a bunch of problems. So I don't know. I think the races are fine. The restarts are definitely exciting. Some people try to push it to the limit a little more than they should, but I say keep this track. It's something different. It's not your cookie cutter track by any means, and the crowd out there really enjoyed it. So I say it's another success at that track, and we'll see in a couple weeks with some new track coming up. But I think doubleheaders should be a big part of NASCAR. All right, highlighting the Xfinity race in Portland. This is how unlucky I am with picks. My pick was Daniel Hemrick. Again, solid road course racer, had a good run at COTA, and he was running top 10. He was in 6th. Going to the restart, just to the choose cone. What happens? The damn engine explodes. Under caution. What? It doesn't do that. I've jinxed so many people. And I apologize, Daniel Hemrick, for that. Because I definitely had confidence in you. But no. The engine just wanted to say bye-bye. But that race ended with a lot of late race drama. Cole Custer, who went from the back to the front a few times, probably had the fastest car. He takes the lead away from Justin Allgaier after Sheldon Creed gets in some incidents with drivers on the track. I don't think he made any friends by any means. He was very aggressive, and he was getting a little mad because he had the fastest car for a while, and he felt it slip through his fingers, and he's just trying to get that first win, and he was overdriving it and just getting beyond first, especially with John Hunter and Nemechek. Those two were going at it for quite a bit in the second half of that race. But showed a lot of interesting scenarios that can pop up, especially back-to-back road courses for Xfinity. We'll try to do a preview episode later this week on Crew Chief Corner, and we'll see what we're thinking. I'm sure I'll be wrong. But yeah, Cole Custer ends up with a win at Portland, and they'll be moving on to Sonoma this coming week. All right, the High Limit Series were also in St. Louis, so Larson got to stay out there in the Midwest all week. And they were at Tri-City Raceway. And Larson was able to do the dice rule, and ended up starting 8th after he had a pole secured. And no problem for him. He gets the job done, passes all those cars, and gets a win at Tri-City Raceway. So Larson's hasn't raced as near as much sprint cars this year as he usually does, but still showing that he could still wheel the hell out of the thing. So he's done an incredible job with that series, I think. And I think it's been a success. It just kind of sucks how late they can end up being on a Tuesday when some people got to work the next day. But it is what it is. I still think it's good racing action, and I still think you get good crowds there. So definitely cool to see that. Well, it's big for our family that with the All-Star races that headed out to Wisconsin. They were at Dodge County on Friday, and Oultaws, or the Big O is what they call it, on Saturday. And like I said, big for our family because my grandpa's driver, Lance DeWeese, in the 69K Kreitz Racing sprint car, made the trip out there, which is crazy. You don't ever see them travel out there. Randomly, they'll go to some of these races. A couple years ago, I think it was Arizona, and it's just kind of wild seeing that. So interesting couple races. They two completely different tracks. But Lance was actually able to get 7th at Dodge County after starting mid-pack. He just needs a time trial better. That was kind of how it's kind of been throughout the year. If he doesn't get a decent time trial run, not looking. They race fine. They race great, but it's hard to pass 20 cars or whatever it may be to get the lead. But of course, who would win at Dodge County? None other than Dad's pick, Corey Lyson. He holds off Marks to get that win at that track. And yeah, that was great. No, All-Stars were not at Oultaws. That was the Outlaws. I am getting them mixed up. I apologize. They all started, everything started kind of combining this weekend. I was in and out between choosing which races to watch. So, no, the Saturday race was at the Plymouth Dirt Track in Wisconsin. And Rico Abreu, another big-time win for him, holds off Brent Marks. Brent Marks probably tired about getting second at his All-Star races. But Lance gets 6th in that one. So good on Lance. Good on them showing that they can run anywhere. And a lot of people try to talk smack about them, that they can't run anywhere outside of PA. Well, looks like they're showing it pretty well. And I think this confidence builder is going to be big for them, especially getting closer and closer to that Eldora milling coming up in a few weeks. Now the Outlaws. Now we'll talk about the Outlaws. The River Cities was the first night, and the second night was Oultaws. First time at the Big O for the Outlaws. That's what it was. David Gravel held off James McFadden to get the win at River Cities. And then Carson Macedo, who's starting to get on a roll right now in the summer, gets the win at Oultaws at the Big O showdown. So good for Carson Macedo. Looks like he's also getting hot at the right time. And it's probably those hot summer months getting the slicker tracks. And I think he likes them when they're a little bit slicker. And definitely is able to run that hook the bottom really well, a lot better than a lot of people. So if he's got a good bottom on these tracks, look out for him. He's going to be making a run for this championship during this summer stretch. That pretty much does it for all of the recap action that happened. NHRA had some unfortunate weather delays and rain and whatnot, so they had to cancel that one. I'm not sure if they picked a rain date for it or not yet, but definitely stay tuned for them. And tune in later this week for another episode of Crew Chief Corner. We'll try to preview all the action coming up with NASCAR at Sonoma, World of Outlaws, and, of course, All-Stars. You guys have a good one.